Dropped frames detected. All right, and we are live. This is Jeff. You are watching the HODL review coming to you live. Looking forward to starting up these live streams. Not sure if they're going to be every Saturday at 8 a.m., but that's what we're shooting for. So we got Carl Lewis in here. We got Nova bouncing in. This is going to be interesting because we got a ton of stuff to talk about. I'm fired up to start doing the live streams. Let me know if the audio is blown out, if the audio is good, image looks good. I'm able to monitor everything. I was actually getting this set up. Everything seems pretty solid. OBS kept crashing, so fortunately I got the Streamlabs as a backup. If everything's solid, we got a ton of stuff to talk about. We got 17 people bounced in here already. We got Patsy Green here. This is awesome. So stay tuned. We got a ton of stuff that we're going to talk about. Here's what we're going to cover today. And I'm excited to go over all of this stuff because we are going to talk about XRP accounts being deleted. We're going to talk about Egypt launching, or Ripple launching in Egypt with one of the larger banks, the national banks over in Egypt. We're going to talk about the Asian expansion market, the remittance market. We're going to talk about why in the world did the government even consider taxing in-game currency, V-Bucks and Fortnite, really? And then I want to also cover a little bit about that BitMEX flash crash that happened. We need to talk about the exchanges. We need to talk about trading. It's all... All right, so the intro didn't want to play, so we're back here. Back without the intro. Not sure what happened there. So anyhow, let me see. We got a lot of people bouncing in here. I'm happy to see that. So I was trying to be fancy. I was trying to set up the intro, and I'm not sure how to play it. I'm using Streamlabs, and it's really bizarre. When I went over to my my intro mode, all it did, it was like dead space. Video is choppy. Let me see here. We're getting a lot of dropped frames for some reason. Let me know. This is live. This is live, Jerry. Jerry Hall, ladies and gentlemen. We've got Jerry Hall. Let me know. Keep me up to date here if you're getting a lot of dropped frames. I'm trying to determine what's going on over here. This is now my second time streaming, back to streaming, so we're looking forward to everything. Sound is crystal clear. Awesome. I'm playing tricks. So, all right, let's get into this. Let's have some fun. Let's start talking about some good stuff. The first thing that I think is important that we talk about last week. There's so many things that happened over the past week, and that's where we're gonna start. So let's see here. I want to start with the deletable accounts. And so let me bounce over to this other view. There you go. Look at that. That looks like it worked. It looked like we switched over to the other account, and it looks like we're solid. So we're going to be able to go through this and say, what in the world are we talking about when they talked about deletable accounts? Now, a lot of people covered this over the past week. I want to give my take on it. Why not? So I think, and it's interesting too, because people are saying, hey, you know, do you want to be able to give anybody the capability of deleting your accounts, removing accounts? Right now, there isn't any way to remove accounts. Now, think about it from a different perspective. Now, what I did here, I pulled up the xrpl.org, which goes into the developer side of and details of the XRP token. You can go through here and you can read it and peruse it all you want. Getting into everything, but right now we're focusing in on deletable accounts. It's a section here that would make it possible. So it obviously needs to be voted on. We need to get some feedback on it. But there's a couple key points that I think in favor. There could be a couple key points to the other side, to the negative of being able to delete accounts. Obviously, if you give someone the centralized control, even if it has to be voted on by the validators. But the point here is, let's look at the pro side, because I think this is the important part. Every time you open up an XRP wallet, there's XRP that's tied up into that wallet. And if you all remember, we made a video months and months and months and months ago about that 20 XRP. And this goes back a while ago, because we said at some point, if that 20 XRP isn't changed, then the value of the 20 XRP, or the cost to actually open up an account, a wallet, would be extreme, as the numbers went up. So even if we go back to the height, of value of XRP when it went over $3, think about that 20 XRP that was tied up to open up that wallet was valued at $60 to open up that wallet. And so now think about all of the different wallets out there that aren't being utilized, that are tying up XRP, that could potentially be released back into the ecosystem. Or if those wallets are just old and they're just going to sit there, they're going to disappear. But here's what's interesting. So let's look at some of the back end concept on the deletable account, and then we're going to move on. Before we do that, let me just bounce back over here and look at the chat. Video is a bit laggy. Apologize for that. It looks like we're getting a lot of dropped frames, and I don't know exactly why. So hopefully we don't get too much choppiness in the stream. So if we do, keep notifying me that we're still getting dropout and lagginess in the stream. So this is the first time I'm using Streamlabs because OBS was crashing. All right, let's go back here. So these are some, important parts. Let me see. Same. Okay. Yep, you can't withdraw. So let's go. So in the deletable account. So look, without this amendment, new accounts always start with their sequence numbers as 1, and there's no way to remove accounts from the state data of the ledger. So basically, accounts are always there, and that's it. There's no way to delete it. So they want to be able to delete certain accounts. They want to be able to have a little bit more control over the formatting of everything. Obviously, we could read this. It really doesn't mean much to any of us, but unless you're thinking about the tech aspect of it, of what it really means. But I do believe, though, that there needs to be a mechanism, at least, because you have to think about it beyond just from the investment perspective, but we have to think about it from the remittance perspective. As XRP is also then utilized at a much greater extent across the spectrum, across the globe, moving fiat currency, moving money, whatever you want to look at it, and it could be any digital asset, could be any fiat currency that's moving around, and obviously, hang on a second, let me open this up a little bit further. There we go. Now I can actually read the comments that are coming through. They were cut off a little bit. George is saying, well, if we think that's for security reasons, I'm okay with it, which was the primary point, and also the potential of deleting accounts also from a security perspective. So I think there's a lot of things that need to transpire on the back end when we're thinking about what Ripple's doing in terms of working with banks and large financial institutions, and also we're still waiting on government regulatory clarity in the United States, and so I think that's also a factor when you think about just having a loss of control, I guess. There has to be some sort of a mechanism. I don't know, pro con. That's not for me to decide. I can just look at it from that perspective. So let's move on. Let's move on to let's see here. All right, let's jump over to Egypt, because I think I put a bunch of articles here. We'll look at them, and then we're just going to talk about them. We're not going to read them line by line. You guys can do that on your own. So what I want to focus on, though, is the significance of what's happening. And again, this had been brought up on other streams over the course of the week. Hey, Chris XRP, what's going on? Glad to see you in here. Oh, look, I'm just bouncing up here. D3, Digital Dinero Dave. So you guys, make sure you go check out. There's 2 streamers in here with us right now. We've got, or video creators. We've got Jerry Hall. He's has a show right here on the chain. It's called One on One with Jerry Hall. Go check him out. We have a video that dropped or is dropping for him today, that he did an interview with Peter Saddington. So if you guys have ever watched Peter Saddington, ever tuned in to his previous project, yen.io, I think it was, and he has some new projects going on in the VC space. And so Jerry Hall really gets into an in-depth conversation with him about that. Peter Saddington was the one who was one of the first to buy a Lambo with Bitcoin. So you can go check that out. And he also has VinWiki and has been into a ton of other projects. And then we've also got Digital Dinero Dave over here with us. And he was on the show not that long ago. It was really a pleasure having him on. And so anyhow, all right, let's comment a little bit on Ripple working with Egypt's largest state-owned bank. And I think it's also important to note that one of the big statements that came out of Ripple this past week, and this whole conversation is going to be all about Ripple, but and XRP, but we're going to start with that because these are big movements. This is real life, real world things that are events that are happening. It's not just contained within the ecosystem, the digital asset ecosystem, the blockchain ecosystem. These are things that are crossing national borders, that are interacting with governments, that are interacting with financial institutions and banks. It's bringing the cryptocurrencies, it's bringing the blockchain to the real world, real time. So we need to emphasize it. So here we have, I was about to mention, or I mentioned, but Ripple moving into and forecasting moving into one country every single week. That's massive. Things are going to start snowballing for them. It's really interesting to watch the growth, the progress of a company. And if we go back and really start analyzing the significance of Ripple taking on Swift and all of that, we have other videos that we talked about that. But this is so important. The fact that we're seeing Ripple now engaging with Egypt. Egypt is a very significant country, both for the Middle East and Africa, being that it's in northern Africa, but it is that kind of epicenter of the Arab world. A ton happens with Egypt, between Egypt and the U.S. Egypt has had one of the longer running alliances with the U.S., with Israel over in the region. And it's also been very impactful when you look at the other Arab nations. So it is significant to see them moving into Egypt. Obviously, when we see conversations like with Saudi Arabia, because Saudi Arabia obviously having the biggest control over oil, and obviously a lot of finances at stake there. But here we have is Egypt's largest state-owned bank getting actively involved with Ripple. Doesn't mean that they're working with XRP specifically, but it does mean that they're working with a company that is based on blockchain technology, and things are really starting to move and happen for the Ripple organization. And this has to do with cross-border payments. It's amazing, and it really is important. So a few of the things to really consider, because when we look at the size, so let's look at that. Let's look. The Middle East and North Africa cross-border remittance market grew to $62 billion as of 2018. Now that is definitely a significant number, because here we have, of that $62 billion, Egypt accounted for $29 billion of it. Those are big transaction numbers. And then here, when we're talking about, what does Ripple want to do? Obviously, they want to disrupt the remittance payment market, which we've talked about on many other videos. Others have talked about it as well. It's too costly, way too costly. Now look at this is the staggering number right here, because the average cost of a $200 payment is around 7%. So for every $200 sent, they're paying 7% of it. That's pretty amazing. That's $14 for every $200 spent. Now that $200 is extremely significant to the family to the families that are moving this money around. I shouldn't have turned on the dehumidifier. It's dried out the entire place here. So that is really a key market. It's important. It's important to note, what Ripple's been doing down in Mexico. Here we have another article that popped up here, but another major U.S. Mexico remittance partner. So really important. And you're just seeing a very developed and very well thought of strategy to roll out in these different markets, and rolling out a solution that is going to and is directly competing against the status quo. So obviously we know that the status quo isn't working. Obviously we know that the status quo is too costly. Obviously we know that the status quo overall is broken. And now we see a lot of interesting solutions that are popping up. Just to turn back to the chat real quick. Let me know if the video is delayed at all. If everything's okay, audio clear. Just keep me posted as we progress here. So want to throw it back to you guys too. Any feedback that you have, any comments, make sure you throw them into the chat, and I'll get back to the chat and we can start engaging a little bit in conversation as well. But from looking at Northern Africa, Middle East with Egypt, let's bounce over to Asia, because really there is a lot going on when we're talking about remittance payments in the space, really being able to tap into the growth of the Asia Pacific remittance market. So here we have, imagine that you have Latin America, you've got Central America, Mexico, you've got Africa, you've got Asia, you've got the Middle East. There's so many areas for smaller numbers to really help people with these remittance payments. And then you've got these major movements of money when we're talking about millions and millions of dollars being moved. Then you have the micro payments, from individuals, they're foreign workers, whatever it might be. They're having to send money home. We just saw that example with Egypt, that they're paying out $14 for every 200, or $7 on every 100. So imagine you come there, you work, every single penny that you have, that $100 is going to feed the family for a month, and you just took $7 of it, and that's being that's a low number, because there are some numbers out there from a transactional cost that can be up to 30%. And it's not just focused in on what we have over in let's say in the Middle East or in Asia. It's not necessarily just a third world problem, because if you come home to the United States and you look at what goes on in some of the poorer communities, individuals that are living paycheck to paycheck, individuals that are using the cash pay stores where they go and they cash their checks. They get paid. They take their check. They run to those stores and they're whacking them for 30%, 35%. 40% of their salary for cash advance, for cash checking, whatever it might be, or a check cashing. But those pay advance stores are hitting them extremely, extremely hard. In fact, there's a new bill that's in Congress right now, HR 5050. You can go check it out, HR 5050. Look that one up. It's interesting because Congress is talking about capping those exorbitant fees and those payday advance stores. They're talking about capping them at 36%. So could you imagine having having that as your maximum limit, 36%? You go there with $100 and they're taking $36 of it. It's staggering. Credit card payments, if you look at some of the interest rates on credit cards, it used to be, there's usury laws, there's all these things that limit the level of interest that can be charged on loans and credit cards. And it amazes me every single day. Even if you have stellar credit, some of those credit cards out there are whacking people for 20%, 25% interest rates if you leave money on that credit card. And that's why it's so important to really try to focus in on not using those solutions. George, it's still lagging. Hopefully it's not horrible lag, but I'm getting a lot of drop frames here. So hopefully it's coming through and we're not getting a lot of disruption. I'm not sure exactly why I'm getting so much disruption with everything that's going on. Let me take out my phone and monitor as well. I see CAK just bounced in here. It's great to see you. I haven't seen you on for a little while. All right, let me while we're talking here, I'm gonna go and find YouTube here. Do me a favor as you guys are on here. If you enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and you just stumbled on it, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. That definitely helps. You can also go and check out onthechain.io. If you go to onthechain.io, you can definitely see everything about us. You can also get a pretty good idea of some of the content contributors out there. Well, I'm seeing a lot of lag on my phone. All right. At least the audio looks pretty solid. It's the video that's lagging out over here. So thumbs up for audio. Audio check. Audio check. All right. Let's bounce back over here. Hang on a second. Oh, we got BZ Comedy Channels in here too. What's up? There's Notorious. Everybody check out Notorious. He makes some stellar videos as well. Make sure you click on him and subscribe to his channel as well. So, all right. So let's get into Asia. Hang on a second. Let me switch this back over. There we go. Let's bounce over to the Asia Pacific region because we're seeing a lot of growth in remittance payments right now, and it's interesting because I'm gonna bounce right through this article because there's some really interesting facts that we have to look at that are staggering. Now, this was an article right on Ripple. Let me see if there's a date on it. February 13th. So this was Thursday. Interesting article. Man, I'm watching myself now lag out. That's bad. So I'm gonna have to fix that on the next stream here. I'm gonna have to figure out why the heck I'm lagging out here on my video. It looks bad. It's like max headroom all over again. So let's see here. Okay, so here's what I wanted to look at. Here we go. Cash transactions. This is interesting. 90% of Thailand's domestic payment value is in cash. That's a staggering number. That means there are almost no credit cards, no digital payments, no PayPal. 90% of all transactions domestically are in cash. That's huge. Then you have the Philippines, low value instant payment rail. There's a lot going on there. Here we have Prompt Pay, launched in 2017, reached 4.5 million transactions per day. That's amazing. That's look at that, 4.5 million transactions in a day. That's insane. 49 million registered users for Prompt Pay. That's just amazing. And here, look, as a result, the volume of digital payments increased by 83% in 2 years. That's amazing. I mean, that's really amazing, and that's over in the Philippines. So now you have to look at here. It says the enormous impact of Prompt Pay in Thailand to be successful. it's important to factor the enormous impact of prompt pay in Thailand to be successful. In the Philippines, you get far with broad cash coverage. In Thailand, prompt pay is needed as table stakes offering cash in other wallets, in addition to prompt pay, can help gain an advantage. So what we're really looking at here is that, again, we look around the globe and we say, okay, we see, some amazing things happening over in Northern Africa with Egypt. We see, Saudi Arabia, all these other countries. We know that there's reach out to Mexico. We know Brazil. We know Europe. We see things happening. Asia, we know in Japan, things are booming over in Japan as far as what's going on in the digital space, the digital economy, digital currency, blockchain, the adoption with the banks. And there's amazing things happening in Japan. But Asia is far greater than Japan. We're not even factoring in the fact that India has been dragging their feet, and there's some interesting things happening in India. We'll discuss that on a future stream, future video. We might not have all live streams here on the HODL review. We might be launching some videos as well, which is how we avoid all this lag that we're watching. So let me see here. So, yeah, so anyhow, so we need to look where, here's what I was looking at. Okay, so banked versus unbanked, you can get in these conversations. You go into a lot of these, developing nations. Thailand is a good example when you're looking at 90% of the market is using cash. You go to a lot of the poorer countries, they're not even living paycheck to paycheck. They're living day to day based on the money transaction. They sell something, they get some payment, they go and buy groceries, they do whatever they can to live. And that's the reality, on the ground. So this really sucks that my video is lagging out so much. And I can't figure it out. As long as the audio is solid, I have no idea why I'm dropping. 63% of the frames dropped over the last 2 minutes. That's unbelievable. Spanish Fly is here with us. Welcome. Good to see you. We've got Rising Green. You were on here earlier, weren't you? I thought you've been in here this whole time. If not, Rising Green also just bounced in here. Good to see you here. And we've got Egbertina is in here with us as well. So we've got some people from all around the world, which is awesome. All right, so let's go back to, really looking at, again, the significance of what all of this means for these developing countries. But now we can go and look at a mature country as a contrast. And it's interesting that they brought this up as well, because these are countries that the workers are actually going to. So why are the remittance payments critical for the workers, whether they're in Thailand, helping them become more banked, helping them move money freely or more freely, less costly, actually allowing them to transact digitally instead of just based on fiat analog methodologies. And here you have, as we contrast it, you have 99%, right? 99% of the Australian population is banked. 99%. And that's what we want to see. So again, why are they so focused on this? Because they want to be able to help and scale all of those in these other countries. And it really makes a major impact to really support everything. So now, if we have country to country, talking about the U.S. to Australia, the U.S. to Europe, Europe to Australia, U.K., whatever, through Mexico, however you want to be. You have big financial institutions, big banks moving money, and they're doing it fast. They're doing it with transparency. They're doing it with little cost. We know it's millions and millions of dollars that are moving. That's awesome. And then you have the other side of the conversation, again, which are those that are participating, that are unbanked right now, that need to get involved. We're seeing the growth in that space. Everybody runs around with a cell phone. There's cheaper cell phones. You go to countries like India or wherever, people are able to buy smartphones. They're not all $1,000 like they are in the U.S. You can get other phones. There's phones manufactured in China. There's probably phones manufactured over in India. There's other ways to get good technology. The Android platform is free, unlike the Apple platform. So it's easier to get the Android platform out there in more and more hands so that they can actually develop on that technology and get it out to their people. This is all they need. They don't really need too much. So if you can get a phone in people's hands, they have a way to plug it in, they have power, they can bank. Not only can they bank, but they can communicate with the world and they can join the world economy, which is really, really important to make sure, that we have more and more people joining the world economy. So imagine the significance of that to the economies of each one of these countries as you have more and more people that are able to actually participate not just in their own economy, but be able to participate in the global economy. That has more meaning than really a lot of it, because it changes the dynamics. There's a lot of things that can happen. You just look around. I mean, you talk to these, people that are in this stream even that live in other countries, and they can tell you, the interactions of people around the world is significant, and it's important for growth overall. And there could be amazing ideas popping up everywhere, but there's opportunity everywhere right now. So if you have countries like in Thailand or others that are still in this developing phase, being able to bring the population up to become consumer driven, not just living whatever they use. I don't know, is it the baht in Thailand? I don't know what the currency is over in Thailand, but if they're living day to day just on the pennies, so that is staggering. So we need to move them from that to become productive members of the global economy, in order to move them from the living on $100 a month, being able to give them the opportunities to develop technology, to write software code, to build and do all of that is amazing. Rising Green, I have 4 times $150 devices. Hedge my bets always. iPhone flagship is a ripoff. It's insane. It's absolutely unbelievable that the cost of these products. Obviously, there's R&D and things like that go into it. We know that. We're aware of that. But come on. If you can go out and buy a computer for $300 or $500, why is it that a cell phone and a tablet is so expensive? The reason why is because they know people want them, and they know people need them, because in today's day and age, it becomes a necessity versus just a luxury to have that cell phone. And they know that the economy, that everything is moving over to the cell phone, because you have to have your apps, you have to be able to access your bank accounts, you have to be able to access that stuff. Twitter and all these other things that people pretend. You can do a lot of it online, yes, but they're taking advantage of the fact that people need them, and it's supply and demand. And I don't know. That's a whole another conversation to get into. That's insane. Daver the Amazer. Let's see. In terms of payment flows globally, the flow of those payments will find the fastest and cheapest payments and migrate to the network where they get those benefits. It's called self-organization. That's great. That's a great statement. I like that. How does all this translate to the value of XRP? Absolutely nothing. Yeah. So that was the point, Leonard. Is that we're not talking about XRP directly back, in what we were talking about a minute ago. We're talking about the movement. When you look at what Ripple is doing, where Ripple is transacting, the valuation of a digital asset that's tied into this HODL solution, which HODL, a big component of that is turning on the XRP. So look at this is what is going to happen. The valuation is going to be based on the supply and demand of the product, the utility of the product, which is what we'll see when that develops. But this is the key statement for that. If you want to look, Banks and payment providers are leveraging RippleNet's on-demand liquidity (ODL) as an alternative to traditional pre-funding. ODL uses the digital asset XRP as a real-time liquidity bridge between the sending and receiving currencies. So we know transparent, we know significantly reduced costs, and we know in seconds. So people are going to migrate and utilize the technology and the solutions that are going to get them their money transferred instantaneously at almost no cost. And through ODL, utilizing these big financial institutions, being able to free up capital, that's an important point. That is significant. Here we have competitive FX rates, foreign currency exchange rates. That's important. So all in all, what are we talking about? With ODL, it's a game-changing solution, and that's that for that point. Let's see, we got Anthony King just bounced in here. Great to see you here. Carl Lewis, how do prisoners make calls on a cell phone? Wah, 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 wah. It's hilarious. That's hilarious. I just realized I wasn't sharing my screen and going through and highlighting stuff. It was just for fun, apparently. All right, let's go to something really interesting, because we're going to. I don't want to hear that. Let me X out that. All right, now let me share this, because we are going to talk about the flash crash that happened this week, and it's interesting because, for a lot of different reasons, but A, there was a flash crash. B, people complained about it. Why? Because people were trading. People were putting them on exchanges and trading the ups and downs. You're in a volatile, high-risk trading environment with in the digital asset space. There's high volatility in the valuation. There's high valuation. There's high risk in the trading aspect of it. You have to look at the exchanges if you're planning on trading. Look at the liquidity. Look at the books. You have to look at every aspect of it. You have a small exchange, and with every sell there has to be a buy. It's not a magic elixir. I was going through some Twitter feeds this week, and I saw someone that was really upset, and there was quite a few people were upset because BitMEX had this flash crash. Now, the problem was it a glitch on their side? If it was, it's going to be uncovered that it was a glitch. If there is a glitch, they're going to have to figure out a scenario where they're potentially compensating people. I don't know what these guys were doing, but one guy, was saying that it went straight through his stop. I don't know if he had a trailing stop or just a hard stop. Whatever it was, doesn't matter. But in a flash crash environment, and it happens on big stock trading platforms, it's happened to me before, where it blasts right through your stop. And the reason why is because of the speed at which the price of the valuation of whatever you're trading dropped off. Now, that's a part of it. It could be from a technical perspective. The trading is happening so fast. Who knows what caused the flash crash? Another big part of it is that you don't have enough people on the exchange. There's not enough volume to support. And so if you have low volume and there's a big sell, whatever it is that pushes the valuation, there's not going to be anyone on the back end. So that's what everyone thinks, it's some magic elixir. I'm on a trading platform. I'm gonna buy it low, and it's gonna go up, and I'm gonna sell it high, and and then if I have a stop, I'm gonna be automatically protected. You're making an assumption, that there's always gonna be a buyer and a seller to capture. And if you have low volume, you don't have big involvement on that exchange, things can happen. Now, in a volatile market to boot, knowing that the digital assets are highly volatile, speculative investments to begin with, then we have an issue. So the fact that it was on this BitMEX exchange, people are taking a big risk again to begin with. It was a huge flash crash, though, because if you look at it, look at this, 34 to 14 cents. Hey, this site won't let me use my highlighter. That's not fun. It takes all the fun out of it. Hey, I can't highlight. That's not good. I can do this, though. Bam. Can't highlight it. But BitMEX drops from 34 cents to 14 cents in the flash crash. That's big. Their stop losses didn't trigger. Yes, that's exactly it. So it went down. It was only on that exchange. It could have been a glitch. It might not have. Who knows again what was going on at the time, volume wise, and everything else that was happening, and so there's so many other aspects to look at it, and it's we'll see what happens with the exchange. Don't keep your money on the exchanges if you can avoid it. If you are going to keep it on an exchange, then use a big exchange. Use an exchange like Coinbase or Uphold, or if you're overseas, you can use an exchange like Binance. But don't use an exchange like this. I mean, you're already asking for trouble, and if you're leaving your digital asset there, you're just playing with fire across the board. So, do I feel bad for these people? No. I don't feel bad for them. If it's a technical glitch, then yes, these guys are gonna have to fix something. If that flash crash was artificial, who knows? But we'll see what happens. But I think that's interesting. But I think people need to be very, very aware of what's happening. And Mr. Bigman over here, said it right. BitMEX is trash. I've never used it. I've never really analyzed that exchange. But the fact that happened, then there you go. Carl Lewis, CoinSpot in Australia just introduced stop losses. And the first thing I read was if something like this happens, not their problem, and repeat it 4 times in the terms and conditions. There you go. You go to any trade platform, they're going to say the same thing. Forget about it. It's not their problem. There's things that happen. Think about it from a perspective that some of these digital assets are like penny stocks. Penny stocks, low price valuation, high volatility, super low volume, sometimes big volume because they're being manipulated by day traders. And you have the groups that they go in, they pump it up, they pump up the value of it, and it's still such a low valuation on the stock that they're getting other people to bounce in, and as they bounce in, they've already got their buys. But there's such low volume, they can manipulate the movement of the market. And it's the same thing if you have an exchange like that. You're relying on other people that are on that exchange. So, Mr. Bigman, Coinbase Pro and Binance US. Yeah, I think Coinbase Pro is great. I use Coinbase Pro. I've used Coinbase. I've used Binance in the past. I haven't used the new Binance US yet. I've used Uphold. I've used multiple exchanges. But if you're going to leave asset anywhere, make sure it's a highly reputable exchange that has a third-party audit. I can't stress that enough. Utilize an exchange that is adhering to regulatory concern. You want an exchange that's concerned about if you're leaving fiat on there. That if you're in the U.S., they have FDIC coverage on your fiat holdings. You want to make sure that they're insured by a solid insurance provider, and you also want to make sure that they're being audited with a third-party audit solution. And there are big insurance providers out there that are backing them up, and you have organizations like BitGo that's out there as a custodian account to help cold storage for these exchanges. So the exchanges don't have all the solutions. They're not going to have all the redundancies and the security of servers to then hold and protect wallets. And so you want to make sure that the groups you're working with are utilizing third-party providers, custodial providers, again, like a BitGo. So there's all these aspects of it. And then if you're going to start trading, you know what? That's the risk you're going to take by trading. Sorry, that's just how it is. It is what it is at that point. So, all right, last thing I want to talk about here. Let me pull it up here. Oops, block that. Where's my article? There it is. This was on the Daily Mail, but it actually I was reading about it. I couldn't find I couldn't find what I first saw. This is absolutely staggeringly insane and stupid. So So the IRS pulled this down. I'm just so amazed. You know, they're focused on cryptocurrency, digital asset, you know, virtual currency, all of that stuff. This thing's loaded with ads. I got to get an ad blocker and block all these ads out of here. They're driving me crazy. I can't get rid of all of them. Look at this. They're popped up everywhere. So anyhow, so what we wanted to look at here, though, I should have found a better site to pull this up on. But look at this. Fortnite players may have to pay tax on the game's virtual currency after the IRS guidelines on V-Bucks were leaked online. So yes, they did. The IRS mentioned V-Bucks specifically, and then they actually retracted. You know, so it's crazy, you know, that they're even going to go down that path of taxation. Let me see, IRS V-Bucks. Get a better. There we go. Let's get a better article. There we go. Let's pull this one up. This one is a lot more. This one is cleaner. Hang on. Oh, am I still on? What in the world's going on here? Why is it still showing that one? Get rid of that one. There we go. Now, let's see what we got here. Whoops. There we go. PC Gamer. All right, let's use this one. So even they have crazy ads everywhere. But the IRS may want to tax your V-Bucks. So this was the V-Bucks as a currency that's utilized in Fortnite. Now, we can also look at this, that it's not just Fortnite that utilizes digital currency. Most of the games have some form of in-game currency that's being utilized. You can't take V-Bucks off platform and go buy a car with it. You know, you're earning V-Bucks, you're putting money in to buy V-Bucks. You know, so if you're a competitor, if you're a professional, then you're making money by playing games through sponsorships and other things. But this was taking it like way too far. I can't imagine, you know, my son playing Rocket League, and then all of a sudden, you know, everything that he does is a taxable event. I can't imagine you go on. I mean, there's a multitude of games out there that you can play that have in-game currencies. Fortnite. So how crazy is that? Oh, you make money and you're transacting so you can buy your skins and all this stuff, and that becomes a taxable event. So they pulled that down so fast that it's not funny. Now the problem with this is that they're trying to focus in on not just virtual currency. In this case, it's virtual currency. But what we're talking about is, look at this. Okay, so this is interesting. The reference to V-Bucks has since been removed, but it was in place since at least October of 2019. That's so crazy. That's so crazy. So let's see here. Let me see if I can open this up. Let's see if it still comes up on the Wayback Machine. Let's see. Here we go. Let's see if it's here. If this is the right link. There it is. Look at this. So this was on the Wayback Machine. Good link. I'm glad they provided it on the IRS website. What is virtual currency? And they're talking about from a taxation perspective. I saw it. Here it is. Look at this. Look at this. Oh my God. This is insane. So they say Bitcoin or Bitcom, according to some in Washington, as you guys know. Ether. Put these in different colors. Robux and V-Bucks. Really? Seriously? Is this what they're going to hedge their bets on here? They're going to state that this is what was on there and it had been on there for a long period of time. Look at this. Are a few examples of convertible virtual currency. Virtual currencies can be digitally traded between users and can be purchased for or exchanged into US dollars, euros, and other real or virtual currencies. This shows a complete disregard of fact. It shows that there's an issue in Washington that they simply don't understand the dynamics or significance one way or the other. It's Bitcom. Let them keep calling it Bitcom because they have no idea, and they finally did pull this down. But virtual currency, tax consequences. Now, we know from a trading perspective, we know that there are actually tax consequences every single time. Use the Brave browser. Good point, Keith. I'm going to start doing that. There's problems utilizing Chrome anyways. I use Chrome because everything's already there, but you're right. I should pull up the Brave browser and start using that instead. So I'll do that. Good suggestion, and I will do that. I don't have it downloaded yet on this computer. So yeah, appreciate that. I'm gonna just take a side comment. Give a thumbs up if you are enjoying the subject content. Give a thumbs down if you're not enjoying the topic. It doesn't matter. What we like to see here is interaction. I like to see feedback and comments. Also, make sure once this video goes live, make sure you go down below and leave some comments. That also helps, keep this video going and we keep the conversation rolling forward as well. Pelosi, yeah, they're very good possibility, Carl. That's what we have to deal with over here. But what we do know is tax consequence. So every trade, and this is one of the reasons why we were heavily helping to promote the Token Taxonomy Act last year, which is now just fallen on deaf ears. And obviously there's so many other things that are happening right now in Washington that have detracted. But what we need to really emphasize here is that for every digital asset trade, Bitcoin to XRP, XRP to Bitcoin, Bitcoin to Ethereum, Ethereum to whatever. I mean, there's so many. There's 1,500. You guys have your favorites, but the point is for every transaction, when you have a realized gain moving from currency to currency, I'm talking about in the U.S. Don't know about the rest of the world. In the U.S., moving from a currency to a currency is a taxable event that for your realized gain. It's a taxable write-off potentially for a realized loss. You don't have a loss or a gain until that transaction is completed. So like with a stock, you might have an unrealized gain, which means that the stock valuation is more than what you bought it for. You don't have a realized gain until you actually sell it. Now you've realized your gain. Same thing on the loss side. So this is important because there are tax consequences. The insanity of it is that they had this on there for so long that they were talking about tax consequence for Roblox and V-Bucks. Roblox and V-Bucks and many others, but they mentioned those specifically. It's so stupid that and if it wasn't true, I mean, it's just like it's a joke. Hey, for those games, all that money that you made playing that game that you're going to buy skins with or trade whatever for in-game purchases that have nothing to do with the real world, you actually have to pay tax on that. I mean, that's just stupidity, and so what this tells me and what this shows us is that there's a significant need for regulatory clarity. There's a significant need for education right now in this space. We need to see people educated properly in Washington. We need to see government leadership around the world educated properly on what digital asset really is. The lobbyists are obviously out there. You've got organizations like Ripple and others that are educating, that are on Capitol Hill. There's like the blockchain associations and others that are actually educating and trying to help. So that is definitely important. And so that's it. That is the height of the topic. I think it was a great way to kind of wrap up this live stream, was finishing off on what in the world are they doing trying to tie in V-Bucks and Roblox? Is it a digital currency, virtual currency in-game? Yes, it is. In reality, it's not. It's someday, some point, there's going to be a crossover. We see, huge potential for cryptocurrency, for digital asset to take advantage of the gaming space. Because in reality, if you think about the gaming space is probably one of the best areas to really show and put the initiative forward that digital currency can work. And you should be able to, if you spend all that time and effort and you're really, really good at that game and you've collected whatever it is to collect, why shouldn't you be able to take those items and sell them in a marketplace and take that money and transfer it over to another game or take it out because you've put your hard work, you put your time and effort into collecting items in an open world game, so to speak. You should be able to take advantage of that and do something positive with it. Not everybody's going to be amazing and stellar at playing that game. Not everybody's going to be stellar at developing and growing and getting the valuable parts of the products. You look at a game like Rocket League, I'm going to wrap up with this, but if you look at a game like any of those games, Fortnite, Rocket, whatever, there are more valuable components to be found, to discover, to buy and sell. And some of the valuation, I sat there with my son. We tried to build out a car in Rocket League, the most expensive one, and it was like, I don't know, it came out to like $2,000 or $2,500 if you got the car and the graphic for the car and the goal. The graphic for the goal and you know, whatever. There are all these graphics and the wheels. Some of the wheels are $150 or $200 for an in-game skin for the vehicle. It doesn't make you play better. It just makes you look better. So, and now, you know, you have all of that transaction going on, and what do they want to do? They want to tax your in-game dollars and such. So anyhow, really appreciate all of you guys being here with us. We're here, HODL review on the chain. I don't know whatever side the graphics are on over there behind me, but you know, this is Jeff with the HODL review. I want to thank everyone for bouncing in, participating this morning. I do want to give a quick shout out to the Digital Nomad Investor, DNI. Every Thursday, 10 p.m., there's a brand new show with DNI right here on the chain. That show is called Deep Dive. Episode 3 coming up next week, next Thursday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Tomorrow night, Sunday night, we're going to have an amazing roundtable discussion with Rain and with Crypto Mike. You guys might know Crypto Mike in the community. You guys might know Rain in the community. Both of them right here on the chain. Roundtable discussion tomorrow night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then tune in for Monday. Monday is going to be a great video dropping as well. That should come out. I think it's coming. It's going to be dropping. It's going to be premiered at 10 p.m. on Monday. 10 p.m. Monday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time Monday. An interview that Chip and I did with the CEO and co-founder of Kava Labs. So that's coming up on Monday. We have a few other CEO guest spots that are going to be coming out over the next few weeks, interviews that we're wrapping up on, and all the interviews are going to be in a show called Off the Block. So we've got the HODL review. We're going to dig in. I've got some things planned for some other things that we're going to review here moving forward. We've got Deep Dive. We've got one-on-one with Jerry Hall. We got a ton of stuff. Chip brought back the XRP Minute. Tune into that. Find the XRP Minute. And that's it. That's enough shout outs and everything else. Look forward to seeing you guys Sunday night at 8 p.m. right here on the chain live for the roundtable. Until then, I got to figure out how to stop streaming. This is crazy. Hang on a second. There we go. I found the